Action.
Hey friends, it's Jared again. This is our second video in this series, How to Use Your Makey Makey. Last time we saw front and back, and then looked at the front and how to use that side with alligator clips. Today we're going to be looking at how to use a header with the connectors that are on the back. There's 4 black headers that are on the board, and then there's the 2 ways that the Science Center likes to use these Makey Makeys. There's the header connector that goes with the Pac-Man game, and there's the one that goes with the piano keyboard also. We'll look at how to plug in the header with the Pac-Man game, and then I'll show you the piano keyboard one later. The headers plug right in to the ones on the board. Each pin gets connected to the inside of the pins that are connected to the board. And then, just like with the side that you saw on the other side, the front, the ground also needs to be connected. All of the headers along the bottom that are next to the ground are all connected to ground. So it doesn't matter where you put those headers. You put them in one side or the other side.
What's the difference between this side and that side?
All of the different pins along this side and that side correspond to different buttons in the code that the chip, you remember we talked about the chip in the last video, remembers about what each button corresponds to. And so out of the box, each pin corresponds to a little picture that the manufacturer prints onto the board. And so on this side it's the arrow keys and then the right and left mouse click buttons. In the third video we're going to talk about how you can reprogram those to be things that are different than what they're printed for, which is what you'll have to do if you want it to press buttons that are different than the ones that it already has written on it. So right now on this side it should say W, A, S, D, F, and G if I remember correctly. Hey! But that's not what those correspond to anymore because we reprogrammed this chip so that it corresponds to the ones that the Pac-Man game needs to use.
Adonis, they're on the radio, Adonis.
Adonis? You on the radio, Adonis? Oh my god. If you're going to use either the Pac-Man one or the vegetable piano one, there should be already reprogrammed for the way that you want to run them if the software that you want to use with them is already packaged with it. If you want to reprogram it to use it for something different, you have to do something different. We've looked at the one for the Pac-Man game. We'll get that one out of the way and show you the one for the vegetable piano. The vegetable piano one has long coils of wire so that your Makey Makey can live pretty far away from your vegetables or fruits or whatever you use. And you can uncoil the wire to get it as far away as you need. On this side, 7 of these are the same kind of connector. They look like this fork, but one of them is different. The different one is this spade connector, which is flat. And the spade connector I can made different on purpose because that way you know this one's the ground. Remember, every time you use the Makey Makey, you have to have a ground that usually you give to the visitors to hold on to. So like, let's say you had a bunch of apples and 1 potato. You might want to plug your potato into the ground so that way it's easy to remember and say, hey visitor, here's your potato, hold on to that, and then plug apples into all of these other ones, and then have them tap on the apples to connect that circuit. On the other side, you can see that the wires that are on the other end of those connectors are plugged into 3 of the 4 different headers. On the one side, the WASD side, WASD side, we used all 6 of the headers. The 7th one takes use of one of the pins on this other side that's been reprogrammed, and then there's 1 wire that goes back to the ground. These can be unplugged and plugged back in, just like the headers on the other one, but it's easy to leave them where they go if they're already where they belong, because then you don't have to remember which ones go where. And that's it for this video.